Hey there, Steelers Nation! Before we dive into today's bombshell update, let me say this. Our Steelers are laser-focused on taking the next step. The front office, the coaching staff, the entire organization. They're working non-stop to build a team that won't just make the playoffs, but will seriously contend for a Super Bowl again. And as fans, we're in this together. So if you love the black and gold as much as we do, smash that like button to support the channel. It really helps us grow and bring you the best Steelers coverage out there. All right, let's talk quarterbacks. Because this latest insider scoop, it just rocked the conversation around Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and what the Steelers' real plan at quarterback might be. So here we are in mid-May, and one of the most iconic franchises in the NFL, your Pittsburgh Steelers, still doesn't know who their starting quarterback will be for 2025. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. Right now, it's Mason Rudolph at QB1. Behind him, a sixth-round rookie in Will Howard, and Skylar Thompson is in the mix too. That's it. No Russell Wilson, no Justin Fields. They've moved on. And while all signs were pointing toward a big-time signing of Aaron Rodgers, those rumors have cooled off. A lot. So what now? That's the million-dollar question. And that's where Kirk Cousins enters the chat. Earlier this week, James Palmer, a senior NFL insider for Bleacher Report, dropped some juicy details about the Steelers' perspective on potentially trading for Kirk Cousins. The four-time Pro Bowler was just benched by the Falcons in favor of rookie Michael Penix Jr., so it's not far-fetched to think he could be on the move. Here's what Palmer said, and it's important. If Rodgers doesn't come, would the Steelers have interest in Kirk Cousins? I think they would have some, but, and this is key, they are not going to be willing to pay a large chunk of that salary. Cousins is owed over $27 million this year, with a $10 million bonus due next season. Unless the Falcons are willing to eat most of that money, I don't think Cousins and the Steelers are a match. Boom. That's the issue. It's not that Pittsburgh doesn't think Cousins can play. It's that they don't think he's worth that price tag, especially not as a plan B. So let's back up for a moment. The Steelers' first choice? Still Aaron Rodgers. They're waiting. And according to Dan Graziano from ESPN, Pittsburgh isn't panicking. In fact, they're more optimistic than the rest of the league when it comes to landing Rodgers. Here's the direct quote. I don't get the sense the Steelers are as concerned about their quarterback room as everyone else. They remain optimistic that Rodgers will sign and be their starter. And they think he'll play better than he did last season for the Jets, especially now that he's 1 year removed from that 2023 Achilles injury. It's wild to think, but the Steelers really do believe Rodgers will be a Steeler if he decides to keep playing, and that decision, well, it's coming soon. The unofficial deadline? May 27th, right before OTAs begin in full swing. Now you might be asking, if Rodgers doesn't sign and they don't want Cousins because of his contract, what's the plan? It turns out the Steelers are totally fine with Mason Rudolph starting, if they have to. Yes, really. Let's not forget, Rudolph stepped up in a big way last season. When the offense was floundering, when Kenny Pickett couldn't move the ball, it was Rudolph who took over and led the Steelers straight to the playoffs. He's not flashy, but he's reliable. And inside that building, they respect the hell out of that. Here's what Graziano added. They like Rudolph and have fresh memories of him saving their 2023 season. In their eyes, he's a capable starter, and with Rodgers or not, they believe they can compete. Add to that the potential of Will Howard developing quietly behind the scenes, and suddenly the Steelers have a low-cost quarterback room with some upside. Is it elite? No. But it's stable, and stability is something Pittsburgh has always valued. Let's circle back to Kirk Cousins for a second. Yes, he's a proven starter. Yes, he's made multiple Pro Bowls. But at 36 years old, coming off Achilles surgery and carrying a $27 million cap hit, that's a tough pill to swallow, especially if he's only your second choice behind Rodgers. Palmer said it best. Unless the Falcons eat most of that contract, this just isn't happening. And honestly, that might be for the best, because Cousins doesn't guarantee you a Super Bowl run. He's good, but is he going to take down Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, or Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. That's a tall order. Here's the thing, Steelers Nation, 2025 is a make-or-break year. Mike Tomlin is still here, TJ Watt is still elite. The defense is playoff caliber. But the quarterback position? That's been a revolving door ever since Big Ben retired, and you simply can't win in the AFC without the guy under center. If Rodgers signs, Pittsburgh becomes an instant contender. Even at 41, he's still one of the smartest and most talented quarterbacks in football. If not, the Steelers are betting on internal growth. Rudolph holding the fort. Will Howard may be becoming the next late-round success story. It's a gamble. But that's where things stand right now. So unless you've been living under a rock this offseason, you already know that the Steelers made a massive, and I mean massive, move by trading away George Pickens. That's right. The ultra-talented, yet sometimes volatile wide receiver is no longer in the black and gold. That decision shocked a lot of fans and left a pretty sizable hole in the wide receiver room. But now, the front office is back on. The move, and word is, Pittsburgh is gaining serious momentum toward a huge blockbuster WR trade with the Green Bay Packers. That's not speculation. That's coming straight from league insiders. Let me break it down. Albert Breer, senior NFL writer for Sports Illustrated, just dropped a juicy nugget in his latest mailbag. And Steelers fans, it's time to pay attention. When asked about Pittsburgh's wide receiver options post-Pickens, Breer didn't hesitate. Here's what he said, and I quote, "If the Steelers want more after seeing those guys in OTAs, there is an interesting dynamic unfolding in Green Bay. The Packers drafted Matthew Golden. They're also bringing back Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, Romeo Doubs, and Christian Watson is returning from injury." Translation, Green Bay has too many mouths to feed at WR. And someone, maybe even a name we all know, could be on the move before the season starts. Breer continued, "That's 6 guys before you even get to others like McCole Hardman. It feels like the Packers could move at least one before the season, and Doubs and Watson were around Aaron Rodgers as rookies. Rodgers spoke highly of Doubs back then. So if you put the pieces together, maybe there's a match." Let's talk about what that really means. As we all know, the Steelers are still waiting on one final piece of the puzzle. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The future Hall of Famer remains a free agent, and Pittsburgh has emerged as his top landing spot. Nothing is official yet. We're still waiting on that big announcement. But there's smoke here. A lot of it. Now here's where things get interesting. Rodgers has a well-documented relationship with Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. He helped develop those guys in Green Bay. He's praised their route running, their IQ, and their work ethic. So, if the Steelers are truly serious about getting Rodgers across the finish line, wouldn't it make perfect sense to bring in one of his trusted weapons? Give your new QB a familiar face? Build that chemistry instantly? You better believe it would. Let's take a step back and look at the current state of Pittsburgh's wide receiver group. Obviously, DK Metcalf is now WR1. That was a monster move. The Steelers locked him in with a 5-year, $150 million deal, so he's the top dog. But behind him, it gets a little murky. You've got Calvin Austin III. You've got Miles Boykin. You've got some young guys fighting for snaps. But if you want to be real about contending, especially in the AFC, you're going to need more firepower. You're going to need a WR2 who can draw coverage, make big-time plays, and stretch the field. Romeo Doubs fits that mold. Christian Watson? Even more so. When healthy, he's a dangerous vertical threat. And don't forget, these are guys who already know Rodgers' cadence, timing, and preferences. That's something you can't coach. Now let's talk money and strategy. Unlike the situation with Kirk Cousins, where Pittsburgh reportedly had no interest in paying his massive salary, these Green Bay receivers are affordable. They're still on rookie deals, which makes them perfect targets for a team looking to win now without blowing up the cap. It also fits with the Steelers' long-standing strategy: trade when value is high, develop talent, and protect the locker room culture. That's why Pickens is gone. Not because he wasn't talented, but because the locker room had to stay unified as Mike Tomlin enters one of the most important seasons of his career. You bring in someone like Doubs, who Rodgers already respects. That locker room becomes tighter, that offense becomes lethal, and the team keeps building momentum toward a true playoff run, or dare I say, a Super Bowl push. And here's another little wrinkle that's got fans buzzing. Rodgers and DK, Metcalf have already been spotted throwing together this offseason. That's right. They've been building timing, working on routes, and getting in sync weeks before anything's been made official. You don't do that unless you're planning to play together, and if the front office is truly serious about loading the chamber for Rodgers, expect one more big move, a familiar Green Bay WR, maybe Doubs, maybe Watson, maybe someone else flying under the radar. But make no mistake, the Steelers are not done. So here's where we're at. Aaron Rodgers is still Plan A. Kirk Cousins is probably too expensive to be Plan B. And Mason Rudolph? Like it or not, he's Plan C. And the Steelers are surprisingly comfortable with that. Now it's your turn, Steelers Nation. What would you do? Should Pittsburgh go all in and trade for Kirk Cousins if Rodgers walks away? Or are you confident that Mason Rudolph can lead this team deep into the playoffs again? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And don't forget to like this video if you want more exclusive updates like this. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a breaking news drop. We'll be back with more updates soon. Until then, here we go, Steelers. Here we go!